Commissioner of Dutchess County Planning and Development will be here, will be joining us.
Yeah,
So,
sure. Thank you. So first of all, let me thank you for allowing me to come before you and give a brief rundown of, first of all, why I'm here and then the program. We met with the chairman about a month ago, Mark Molinaro, myself, and my assistant Jack Burke, and came up to talk about this. And it came to my attention because we have adopted the stop arm camera law in Dutchess County, but obviously Pine Plains, being very northern Dutchess County, and I have asked sometimes to annex Pine Plains into Columbia County, but so far we haven't been able to do that. Our school district, crosses into Columbia County lines, and so it's important to us to think, to give the information to you to see if you would chime in with us on this. And let me give you, and Owen will come and give you the stats, but I'll just give you the brief rundown. Obviously, New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law 1174A requires drivers to stop from either direction, even on a divided highway, anytime a school bus stops. We all know that. The School Bus Stop Arm Enforcement Program, in accordance with the 1174A of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, and we established Dutchess County Local Law Number 1 of 2020, which established a program to impose a monetary liability on owners of vehicles for the failure of the driver to comply with 1174, the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, when meeting a school bus. Under this program, the county is authorized to install and operate a bus photo violation monitoring system on the exterior of school buses owned and operated by school districts within the county, provided that the school districts individually enter into an agreement with the county. So, it's not just the county imposing this. School districts will have to buy in. And quite honestly, the school superintendent in Pine Plains, who just retired this year, was instrumental in getting this in front of us. He was adamant about doing this in Pine Plains. The county contracted with a private agency, and there are several, so I'm not going to even mention their names. It would be up to the county, if you decide to do this, to negotiate that. To implement the program, the technology, installation, and maintenance of all the hardware and software, including in the bus patrol student safety platforms, are provided to the school districts at zero upfront cost. School districts or school bus operators are not getting any out-of-pocket expense in this. But somebody's paying for it, and we'll get to that. The program is funded by the violators over a 5-year term. All school districts in Dutchess County now have access to advanced safety technology, including the stop arm cameras, to deter motorists from illegally passing stop school buses. So most of the school districts in Pine Plains, in Dutchess County, with the exception of Rhinebeck. Rhinebeck has been very adamant that they don't feel that they want to join the program. And we have certainly tried to convince them to do that, but so far they haven't. The goal is to have all of our districts on board by 2022, and we're negotiating with the last 2 or 3 right now, and then other than Rhinebeck, we should all be completely in the program. Every day, 2.3 million children are transported by school buses throughout New York State. Data has shown that on a single school day, an estimated 50,000 drivers throughout the state illegally pass stop school buses every day. In New York, in a 1-month study of 10 buses in East Meadow was conducted in 2019, cameras recorded 615 illegal stop arm passes, or roughly 2.3 per bus per day. This represents 3 times more than the number of tickets given out in Nassau, Suffolk counties during the entire 2018-2019 school year. Stop arm, how does this all work? Stop arm cameras identify illegal passers by license plate number. Tickets are issued to a vehicle's registered owner unless automobile is proven to be stolen during the time of offense, kind of like stoplight cameras that have already been adjudicated throughout the nation. If someone other than the vehicle's owner was driving at the time, the owner can request a transfer of liability. A first-time stop arm violation carries a fine of $250. Subsequent violations within an 18-month period are subject to a $25 increase in penalty up to a maximum of $300. In addition to the financial deterrent, violators also learn about the potential dangers of their actions. Offenders can call the program's toll-free number and speak with a representative who can review the video evidence to them and help them understand the dangers of illegal passing. Services are offered both English and Spanish. Operation Safe Stop seeks to promote school bus safety throughout education and enforcement efforts. Operation Safe Stop is a cooperative project supported by the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, New York State Education Department, and the New York Association for Pupil Transportation. New York State School Bus Contractors Association, the student transportation industry, and state, county, city, and local enforcement agencies. So, in perfect timing, Owen Raptor, the Commissioner of Planning in Dutchess County. And Owen will give you some of the stats that I was just going to kind of make up in my head. As far as, it's an astounding number of violations that we have already gotten in Pine Plains. Our cut, or how this is paid for, it's a 90-10 split between county government and local government. And out of the 90% that the county gets, 60% stays with the county and 40% goes to the operator of the cameras. Other way around. 40% stays with the county, 60% of the money goes, and that's how they pay for this. That's how they get the money for the technology to put in the stop arm cameras. Again, as a businessman and everything, I was a little worried about how this was all going to split out, but the actual numbers that Owen will talk about prove that this is an effective tool in Dutchess County. I sat in your seats. Well, Dutchess County runs a little differently. We have town supervisors, obviously, but we have a legislature. I was town supervisor. I was on the school board for 6 years, town supervisor for 12 in Pine Plains. I've been in the legislature. This is my 9th year, and my 5th year as chairman of the legislature. So I have a lot of experience in dealing with local government and school districts. And I'm going to invite Owen up to kind of give you some of the stats that we're seeing in Dutchess County, and the two of us will answer, well, actually you'll probably answer most of the questions, but we'll try to answer any of the questions you have, and I appreciate your time. No.
So, good evening. As Chairman Pulver said, my name is Owen Raptor. I'm the Commissioner of Planning and Development. The School Bus Stop Arm Camera Enforcement Program is within my department, but more specifically under our Traffic Safety Department. So, the program, as the Chairman said, we adopted the local law that enabled us to do it, and then we have to do an agreement with the school district to implement the actual program. There's 14 districts, school districts, which primarily are within and cover the county. Of those 14, 7 are actively participating in the program. That's about 54%. We're in discussion with 4 of them, but it's actually 3 because one just passed the resolution Tuesday night, but we haven't gotten it, so we can't say they're active as of yet. One school district has decided not to participate, primarily because their municipality has not signed that financial agreement as of yet, so we're still working with them. And we have one final district that we're still trying to have conversations with. There is one outlier, which is the city of Poughkeepsie. The state law, which enables this program, says if your school district is contiguous to a city boundary, they cannot be part of a county program. It has to be part of a city program. So if you have a city and a school district, that are contiguous, they would have to adopt the local law. The local law enables the counties to sign it. If they do put this into place, any municipality underneath it cannot do it on their own, except for that city where they're contiguous. So we started the program late in 2001 with the Pine Plains, 21, and Pine Plains being the first district to come on board. There's 676 vehicles that have the equipment installed. It's very important to note the vendor that we picked to do this program, one of the reasons we did pick them was because they would install the equipment on every single bus that had stop arm cameras and lights. That was a distinction from the other vendor that responded to our RFP. So any vehicle that the school district operates that picks up children that has a stop arm can have the equipment installed. We also offer, through the vendor, 2 different options to the school districts. The external cameras or external and internal. The internal cameras are an option that many school districts may have implemented on their own for safety concerns, but there is a distinct difference between the 2 programs that's written into the state law. The external programs, only our traffic safety enforcement technicians at the county can view those videos. The internal cameras, only school district personnel and the school district personnel that they identify can. So there is a firewall between the 2. That is deliberate. So, January through May, in just those 7 districts, we've issued over 2,600 violations. 2,600 times a vehicle has passed a stop school bus. Don't know about you, but that is an absolutely scary number. So, and that is the main point of this program. We are trying to influence and change people's behavior from doing an unlawful activity. There are not enough police at any given time to follow a school bus around and catch them. This is an automated way to do that and to enable a way to stop people who are doing something that can put children, themselves, and others at risk. So that's the main part of the program. Of note also is this is not a moving violation. You do not get points on your license for this. The ticket is issued, the violation is issued to the registered owner of the vehicle. The camera does not, should not, take a picture of the person driving the vehicle. So the violation goes to the registered owner of the vehicle. There are increasing rates. It's a $250 violation. Goes to $275 and $300 for the first, second, and third within an 18-month period. If someone gets the violation, they have the ability to pay for it. They get a letter telling them of the violation, a picture of it. They sign on to a website. On that website, they can see multiple standard pictures showing what happened at the event, and there is also a video that shows the vehicle passing the school bus. We would consider that, pretty strong evidence that you didn't follow the law. But if someone does feel they were in error getting that violation, they can contest it, and it would go to the local municipal traffic court, if that is the way it's done in each of your municipalities, and you have the chance to go in front of a judge. The case is brought to the judge in Dutchess County. There are special prosecutors that would that would present the package. The evidence package is completely put together, developed by the contractor. It is sent to the special prosecutor and the clerk in the court, so all that information is provided, and then the case is seen by the judge. So in the background, the vendor is doing all the preparation, the mailing of the tickets. Our staff at the county are using a web-based system to look at the information, look at the violation, look at the actions of the bus before, during, and after the event, and they make a determination if an actual violation was occurred. If they say yes, that triggers Bus Patrol, who is our vendor, to issue the ticket. So we have people looking at these and making that determination of the violation. So it is not completely automated. There are human eyes evaluating. The enforcement technicians that we have are currently being done by existing traffic safety staff, but we're in the process of hiring hourly employees who will work at the Traffic Safety Board to do this enforcement, and they are going to be we are going to be reimbursed for those costs through the fine revenue. So out-of-pocket costs to the county is nothing. There is costs of my time. I have been working with all the school districts, most of our municipalities, having conversations with Bus Patrol, having conversations with police agencies, explaining the program, explaining how it works, what the impacts may be on their community. But there is not a physical out-of-pocket cost. It's just the kind of cost of my time in helping to implement the program. So the state law dictates the 90-10% split. The split then of that 90% we negotiated with our vendor. So the 60-40 split was a negotiation we did. That was also, we asked in our RFP for responses for vendors to implement this. We asked them up front what their revenue split would be, and we then negotiated that. That's a pretty broad overview of the program.
One of the unintended consequences, or one of the unintended things that we saw, was it also teaches school bus drivers what they're doing wrong. Because as Owen said, some of the violations are not violations. Why? Because the school bus driver went from moving to red lights rather than going through the yellow light passage. So that was an unintended benefit to this, is that we're actually giving feedback to the drivers and to their bosses that say, hey, something, you need to work on this with your people. Because certainly we don't want to give anybody or we don't want to fine somebody for not, obeying something, that's out of their control. So that was one of the other things that we came.
Yeah, and one of the other things we're using the data when we get it back, you can start to see what we would call clusters of these activities. If there are clusters of activities, we're working with the school districts to say, perhaps there's an issue with where this location is that it's causing difficulty for the drivers to see the bus. Should or could that bus stop be moved? So that could help the school districts provide more safety to the driver, people in the bus, students, and any of the other drivers on the road by saying, perhaps you move it a little bit one way or the other. So that's one of the consequences, I think, of the data we're going to be using as a feedback to work with the school districts, and more specifically the transportation supervisors, to say, are there particular areas where this is happening where we might want to look at and move that stop?
Questions? Yes.
Yeah, so you guys are here, thank you so much for your time, I think it sounds like a great program. And I assume you're here because you have a school district that comes into Columbia County, and without Columbia County being in.
Right, so my school, there's several, there's a couple. Red Hook bumps in, my school district has a significant part of Gallup, Elizaville, well, not, but I'm just putting that neighborhood, that neck there, guys, I'm sorry. But, so and that's what we're here, that's how it got to me, because my constituents have reached out to me saying, hey, why, I thought you were doing this. Well, you're talking about a Columbia County road.
So we are in New Lebanon School District, which is also partially in Rensselaer County. Do you know if Rensselaer County does this?
They passed the local law, where are you, late last year. I don't think they've implemented it yet, but the local law is there.
Okay, great. And if they didn't, would you still be able to do the buses that are only in the Columbia County portion of the school district, or do you have to have the full school district?
You do not have to have the school district.
Okay.
So the way the local law is written, it's the political jurisdiction and then an agreement with the school district.
Okay.
It is odd in the sense that school districts don't really conform to any municipal district primarily. What the benefit would be if you had the same vendor operating throughout the school district regardless. I am unclear what would happen if you picked a different vendor. How would that work with a school district with potentially two vendors?
Okay, thank you.
If we could talk back to the process a little more. So
Sure.
the bus driver is driving the bus, somebody passes them, the camera picks it up. Who starts the action, the bus driver?
No, it's all automated. So there's upwards of 6 cameras on the vehicle and then a computer brain within it. It works through a wireless modem connection, takes all of the information, uploads it to the server. They have an automated intelligence system that goes through, looks for all of the data, cleans it up. So the cameras actually, the example they give us that was very, very good, I think, you had a multi-lane highway. The bus is traveling north, you have a median, and you have a car dealership across the road, so a series of cars. The AI is smart enough to go through and pick only the moving vehicles, isolate the license plate, make sure it can read the license plate and take pictures of that. It then queues them up and says there's a potential violation. That gets loaded into the system they call Alert Bus. Alert Bus has a queue of these violations, which our enforcement technicians, when they sign into the system, see, and they evaluate each of the cases individually, looking at all the data and then determining if a violation did in fact occur.
Then you send out a letter of whatever to the individual.
You click off on the system that a violation did occur, the enforcement technician says yes. The vendor creates that violation packet and mails it to the registered owner of the vehicle. That starts the process.
Okay, the person then says, throws it in the garbage, what happens?
They get a second notice.
Throws it in the garbage. and
They get a third notice and an extra fine.
Throws it in the garbage.
It stops at that fine.
Who enforces the fine?
The fine is put on the violation, but there is no structure in place that you could go after them like a ticket with a license
Right,
where
it's
you
a
wouldn't be
local-
able to violation. You wouldn't be able to do anything like that. We've checked into it, there's not something that goes and says it goes against your title.
Right.
So if they don't, you do not have a way to in fact recoup that or kind of hold them accountable, so to speak.
Correct, that's where I was getting at. So then the next question is you said that, I don't know what county, but has a special prosecutor. If in fact the person says, I didn't do this, I want my day in court, the AI must then say, it happened in Austerlitz, they send it to the Austerlitz Town Court, and then
So-
this special prosecutor goes to the Austerlitz Town Court?
No,
Or
what
they just
happens
send
in,
a
In
packet?
Dutchess, we have
In
special
Dutchess.
prosecutors in all our towns.
Right.
That handle the traffic work.
Right.
so the person, the registered vehicle owner receives the violation notice. They say, I didn't do it. They say, I want to adjudicate, I want to go to court for this. They click off a box. That goes back to bus patrol.
Right.
Bus patrol works with the individual courts to decide when and if they will be scheduling these hearings. So we have some communities that have traffic violation court twice a month because the number they have. We have other communities that just don't see a lot. And they were concerned that this was going to be too big a burden. So we worked with them, bus patrol worked with them and said, we can do this twice a year. And they'll schedule them all, when they get enough, they'll schedule one. The person that gets a notice saying, your date has been scheduled for this time, bus patrol handles all of that with the clerks. They get that notice, they then go to the court. In Dutchess County, we have a special prosecutor that would have that information and go in front of the judge and say, this is the charge, this is the information, and go
So
from
you
there.
pay the prosecutor in Dutchess County, you have a prosecutor that you pay to do
The prosecutor is paid for by the municipalities.
Right.
And they're there anyway. They're
Well,
doing it
not
every,
in-
they're
not
doing it
in-
every.
Not in Columbia County.
Right, so we don't know how that works, but.
The district attorney does all the prosecuting in Columbia County.
Now,
Now, the DA's office would have to be somewhat involved or participating in this, because if there was a case that was sent to the town of Austerlitz, someone has to be there to prosecute it, and that would mean that the district attorney's office would have to say, sure.
But again, you could pool all these into,
Okay.
to make it more efficient for
And
whoever's prosecuting.
do you have any, I'm gonna forget the term of art. Do you have any traffic violation bureaus?
No.
No. Okay. There's some in Long Island that have those, and that's a different version.
So just one
They
more
all
question, I don't want
consolidate.
to take everybody's time here, but if there's a camera and there's a pic, why isn't it then sent to law enforcement where they could actually write it under New York State Vehicle Traffic Law, where there's way more teeth than this?
1174A, which gives them the ability to write the ticket, they have to physically witness it themselves.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I'm going to follow up to Rob's question. Do you have any data that tells you how many people throw it in the trash?
Since the program is just within the first 5 months, we've gotten numbers of adjudications, and I want to say it's somewhere in the 100 range. The first cases are going to be tried in the next month and a half. We haven't hit enough of the dates of your past violation to say how many are not responding to that as of yet.
Okay, so my question was the initial equipment outlay. I think you said it was a 5-year program. Could you tell us a little bit more about how the initial equipment is? It's owned by the vendor.
It's owned by the vendor. So the 5 years is based on the state law because it's a demonstration program. We can only go to the expiration of that. The equipment is owned by Bus Patrol. If there are any upgrades, they send a technician out, they repair it. They have a point of contact that all the district supervisors have. If something breaks, they call, they come back out, they replace it. If something happens, the school district is, the bus has reached its end of life and they're gonna auction it off, they tell bus patrol, they come, they remove all of the equipment at no charge, return the bus back to the condition it was when they received it, and the school district can then auction that bus off.
So this is coming out of the 40% split, their share of the split, basically.
They get $185 per vehicle for the technology fee. So of that 90%, that comes off the top. So there's 185 comes off the top per vehicle.
Just, I have a hard time understanding, I mean, we're in a virtual world here, very media, social media travels very quickly. The word gets out, hey, throw your stickers away. Nobody's got the paper. So what happens? So then nothing happens.
If I am unclear that people are going to always believe social media, that in fact, they throw it away, nothing will happen. I think it goes both ways. There are going to be people that avoid it. I mean, we have signs now, you have to stop. People don't follow the stop sign as it is. We're constantly fighting, I think, to try and keep the kids safe, and this is another strategy in the way. At the end of the 5-year program, because it is a demonstration program, we have to report back to the state annually on what's going on. If we are seeing that trend where these aren't being enforced because there is no enforcement mechanism for not paying, that will be something that I imagine the state legislature would revisit and see if there is going to be a mechanism to change that. Because that 5-year program gives them the ability to react and perhaps change. If that continues to happen, or that becomes a significant trend, that would be something that they might look at and see if they could in fact do something different.
And who sets the fee of $250? I mean, like,
State law.
State law.
It's in the state law.
Okay, traffic lights, you run traffic lights, $50 fine, people pay them automatically, it's not a big deal. $250 people are gonna think about, so I think you're gonna find more people who may not be paying any.
And the other thing is, once you go to the local court, or the local court's gonna assign any local fees on top of the $250 fine. So will people just pay it because they don't wanna have to pay the court fees in addition?
Is there any other questions?
I can ask afterwards, maybe these
No,
gentlemen.
go ahead, one more question.
Was it Rhinebeck resisting us? Was this ideological, or was it a?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer politically, honestly. I think that may answer your question.
Well, your
The
data
town-
collection could
the
be
town
used
had-
to inform
The
law
town had
enforcement
concerns,
about habitual offender
Right.
areas.
the town had
if we find
concerns about the automated
Right.
functionality of it, and the fact that we were using a private vendor to do it.
And I think that once law enforcement knows there's a cluster of this happening, that maybe they would sit near that cluster. I mean, it's a lot of data we're receiving. We're getting, as I said, there's a lot of things that we learned, including failures of school bus drivers operating the stop arm the correct way. That's corrected, or being corrected. So there's a lot of pluses to this program besides the fines. I mean, when we see the 2,600 stops in Dutchess County in a 5-month period, that's just a huge number. That's just a huge number.
You had 2 respondents to your RFP?
We had 2 responses, correct.
And we don't want to take any more of your time. Chairman, thank you so much. The chairman's got my contact information. I can have Owen, respond to anybody's questions via email. And certainly if you ever need us back, we'd love to come back. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
State champs. Nice job. We just did who did we do? Smack boys state champions in baseball. Good job. Thanks. Take care.
We're going to call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Please rise for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to request the clerk call the roll.
Madison.
Here.
Weigelt.
Here.
Holmes.
Here.
Simmons.
Here.
Stats.
Here.
Adams.
Here.
Mettler.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Riley.
Here.
Eldridge.
Here.
Helsley.
Here.
Kirsten.
Here.
Livonia.
Here.
Cousin. Mia.
Yes.
Chemidas.
Yes. Yes.
I'm here.
Yes.
You can hear yesterday.
Mussman.
Here.
Scalera.
Here.
Guzzi.
Here.
Holtley.
Here.
Morel.
Here.
Knott.
Here.
Skoda.
Present.
34, 61 present, 74 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I need a motion to pay the bills, accept the treasurer's report, and file the minutes within the clerk's office.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So this is the fun part of our program. I'd like to have Supervisor Looms, Supervisor Knott, Supervisor Collins, Supervisor Simmons come up to the front. And I'd like to have our coach, Tracy Matransky, McCollum. Bob Wheeler and Chris Secento to come up. Okay, and then we'll have the team come up too. The team is Ashley Ames, Paige Edelman, Carrie Graziano, Emma Perquist, Ava Hefner, Claire Knapp, Abigail Malazzo, Morgan Omerod, Sophia Secento, Emma Scheitner, Tori Temez, Michaela Walsh, Gabriella Vandelkin, and Carolina Williams. I'm not sure if you're all here, but
Yeah, a couple kids are down in the hospital. There are a couple kids are playing stuff.
okay, I'm going to turn it over to Supervisor Holmes from the town of Kinder Hook.
I'm going to read the certificate of recognition awarded to Ichabod Crane Varsity Girls Softball Team. Whereas the County of Columbia recognizes the accomplishments of the Ichabod Crane Varsity Girls Softball Team and its coaches, Tracy Nartransky, Bob Wheeler, and Chris Secento, while the county encourages academic achievement and supports the achievements of the best educational programs for its youth, it admires and supports athletes who excel in their chosen sport. And whereas, throughout the history of the County of Columbia, the community has supported athletics as a valuable part of the academic experience for many students. Participation in athletics promotes life lessons such as accountability, inclusion, perseverance, respect, responsibility, self-confidence, self-discipline, and teamwork. The representation of oneself, family, school, and community through athletics benefits both the individual and the community. And whereas this year we recognize and congratulate the Ichabod Crane Varsity Girls Softball Team of Ashley Ames, Paige Edelman, Carrie Graziano, Emma Hartquist, Ava Hefner, Claire Knapp, Abigail Malazio, Morgan Ormerod, Sophia Segento, Emma Seitinger, Tori Temez, Michaela Walsh, Gabriella Wendelton, and Carolina Williams for winning the 3rd New York State Public High School Athletic Association Class B Softball Championship in school history. And whereas, now therefore be it resolved that I, Matt B. Morrell, Chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim this championship as a victory for all of Columbia County and congratulate the 2022 Ichabod Crane Varsity Girls Softball Team for its accomplishment in becoming New York State champions. In appreciation thereof, this certificate is given under my hand in the privy seal of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors at the County Office Building in Hudson, New York, this 13th day of July in the year of our Lord 2022. Signed, Matt B. Morrell, Chairman, Columbia County Board of Supervisors. Congratulations.
On behalf of the Board of Supervisors, we present you with this plaque. You got an individual plaques.
These are all individual certificates. Framed.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Sorry. Thank you. I'll grab any of the extra ones. That were missing. So I can see that. Definitely, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you guys all done? All right, what's, you want to?
Can you leave these spread out just so we
Yes,
can get a nice good photo of you with the supervisors there?
Should someone was a kneel?
You guys must take a lot of pictures so far.
None of them have gone smoothly.
Wait, didn't the boys basketball team do better than this on that? Just saying. All right, 1, 2, 3. I'll do another one. And one more. Good job. Thanks.
Natransky, could you stand up here? Sure.
We have a certificate of recognition to the Ichabod Crane coach, Tracy Natransky. Whereas the Columbia County recognizes the accomplishments of the Ichabod Crane varsity girls softball coach, Tracy Natransky, while the county encourages academic achievement and supports the achievement of the best educational programs for its youth, it admires and supports those who provide guidance and support to young athletes in their chosen sport and the work and dedication required to maintain the high standards for all concerned. Whereas throughout the history of Columbia County, this community has supported athletics as a valuable part of the academic experience for many students. It is important for the success of all of these students, athletes, that proper guidance, both on and off the sports field, provided by leaders who can only teach the skills required by a particular sport, but also to those skills that would be helpful in future life endeavors. Further, a quality coach of scholastic level athletes conveys the deep level of caring for athletes that she coaches. To support and guide a group of young athletes to success requires a special individual. Whereas this year, we recognize and congratulate Ichabod Crane varsity girls softball coach Tracy Natransky for being named the New York State Sports Writers and Coach Organization of the Girls Sports 2022 Softball Team Coach of the Year. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Matt B. Morrell, Chairman of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors, do hereby congratulate Ichabod Crane Girls Varsity Softball Team Coach Tracy Natransky in this honor.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
shooting from the comic, and there's one stage. So they'll be here soon.
Maybe they can put on a live exhibition, we got enough room there.
Yeah, right. We could go out live.
It's kind of nice to have.
That's kind of unprecedented.
Yes, it is.
The track team from Mechanic Hills went to nationals last year, and they qualified for the finals.
Really?
Oh, wow. Yeah, the 3,000 teams.
3,000 teams, they're in the top 100.
So if they win and come in, they're gonna do a demonstration.
We got an apple for you.
Next on the agenda, I'm gonna ask Jim Bragg to come up with a quick overview of the ARPA, and give an ARPA update.
Thank you. Just a quick update on ARPA, where we stand. Quick reminder, our total award is $11.5 million. We just received the second payment Monday, so we've got the full award now. I'm not sure if everybody's gotten theirs or not. And again, funds must be obligated by the end of 24, and then used by the end of 26. Here's kind of where we're spending it so far. And what we've obligated. So an obligation is a resolution that you passed here where there was some things that were in the 22 budget that are technically obligated as part of that budget adoption. So the first thing is premium pay and benefits we did $460,000 in salaries and then another $115,000 in benefits, which was just your FICA retirement. Next category is equipment and vehicles. We bought a server for the phones, and we have a couple thousand left to do, another couple servers. You guys approved, and we just received the Veterans Bus, and then we also approved sheriff vehicles and DPW vehicles, and we did that because we held off on buying them during the pandemic. So we doubled, or a little more than doubled, our purchases this year, and backed it up with ARPA funds. Infrastructure and buildings, we put $1 million in for the OFA kitchen. We haven't started working on that yet, so it's a placeholder at this point. The top load building at solid waste is actually being built, and we've spent that money. The total building costs about $400, and I think we're getting half back from DEC, so we're covering our half with these funds. The other is a new roof on the highway garage with solar panels. That's $900,000, which has been approved. And then the water tower at Commerce Park, the county engineer has just started working on getting that up and running. Next category is community and public health. $1.5 million budgeted for the wellness hub. It's on property near the county jail, I think, that was donated. A couple other mental health things are MDT, additional staff, which is a warming and engagement site. And the mobile crisis team, both of which we've approved for a 1-year run to see how they work, and then if they're working and getting the results we want, we'll do a second year on both of those things. And both of those things some of it was funding that was cut by the state that we've taken on in partnership with Greene County. OFA, home health aides, we have $500,000 in the budget for that. It looks like we might not need that. OFA has come up with some other funding through CARES Act and some other things that might cover that, but as it is right now, it's a placeholder in there for that. The Columbia Forward program is another $500,000 that was approved. We've paid out $100,000 to CEDC to start that program, and that's basically small business grants being managed by their staff there. And finally, COVID booster shot staffing. Again, a placeholder that is there in case we run out of funding through the Department of Health. It's looking at this point like we may not, so that may be something that could be reallocated later on down the road. For public safety, we have things related to the 911 center, relocation and equipment. And then the final thing is EMS allotments, which PJ Keeler is working on. The thought was EMS lost some revenue or had some higher expenses during the lockdown. We're working on that and potentially doing a review of the whole EMS system as it stands right now. And then finally, it's kind of a catch-all category is miscellaneous. Health insurance, we have $1 million allocated. That's because we're self-insured. We spent well over $1 million on employees and their families who were affected with COVID, plus testing. We're working on getting that money through FEMA, so that may not be all necessary through ARPA, but again, it's a placeholder. That really, we spent $1 million in like 8 months, I think, last year, just on COVID-related expenses to CDTHD. Restore funding to outside agencies and towns, we spent that money, was approved, that restored the 20% cuts that we had in 2020. And then something that was just approved a couple weeks ago was restoration and digitization of the county clerk records, a lot of which are very old and frankly kind of priceless to us as a county from a historical standpoint, so she's working on doing that. The next category is really a catch-all for everything. It started with broadband, where we had some money allocated. We don't think we'll need that because there's some federal funding and state funding for that. We have a catch-all for housing and roads and bridges, and for those who don't know, our bridges are in some rough shape, so we're trying to identify as much as we can for those two categories. And then finally is consulting fees. We have $100,000. We have a consultant who helps us with follow the rules for ARPA and also helped us come up with the premium pay strategy that we use. I don't think we'll spend all that $100,000. We've only spent $10,000 so far. I can't see it more than doubling with that. So far we've obligated about 30% of our money, spent about half, 15%, give or take, or 11%. So we're in pretty good shape, and we're still, it's a work in progress, like you all know. It kind of changes from day to day on what we're spending it on. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
I just wanted to clarify quickly, like with the clerk records, you said, we recently approved the ARPA committee, my understanding, we're an advisory committee, so.
It has to go to committee.
It hasn't actually been approved by the board, the committee that's working on this draft has.
It would go to county government and
Yeah.
finance, and then.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why there's a zero and allocated, because you guys haven't done anything.
Yeah, we did multiple columns to show like, the committee said yes, it hasn't actually been voted on by the board versus it's been obligated to
Right.
the board.
Allocated is also a category, but we have to report that fast quarterly, and they want to know how you're doing on all of this as we go forward.
Is the digitization like a one-shot paid contract, or is it aligning us with the hardware to continue forward after,
I think it's
henceforth?
I think it's there's a one shot on some of the old maps and record books that are falling apart, and then there's some of it is I think some of it might be ongoing for the searchers who come in. They might be able to do that online if we can digitize all that information.
Can you share this with Kelly, this spreadsheet?
She hasn't yet.
Okay, she can send it around. Thank you.
My understanding from Holly is that, and Matt or someone else that was on the committee, correct me if I'm wrong, the current records are already digitized. So we already have a process for the newer records where we can access, and this is some of the older
It's the
records.
antiquities?
It's our history.
Right, it's more historical, but currently we're already digital for the, I think she said like 20 years back.
Yeah.
Till now, we're continuously digital. This is to go back to some things that are in the risk of being lost because of the condition and some of the.
Jim Guzzi actually saw some of the books.
Yeah,
What
they were,
books were they?
they really need to be.
They were deeds,
cleaned up.
The deed books?
So I think that you're right, what's gonna happen is the newer stuff is digitized already, the older stuff is gonna be digitized and put in different format, books cleaned up and fixed, So probably somewhere along the line, the old stuff will be, this price will cover it, but as we move on, the newer stuff will be, have to still be put in. So there will be ongoing costs for the newer stuff, but these books are a shame, they really bring back, if you get in there and you're looking for deeds that need to go way back, these books will show that. We lose them. That's a shame.
The money that's in the ARPA budget is not going to cover everything that needs to be done, but it's a good start.
It was about double that she asked for, and we asked
Yeah,
for
close
looking
to
grants
500,000.
that she could access.
Supervisor Kirsten?
Yes, I wonder if you could describe the federal grant for broadband, where that is, and then how towns might tie into that.
And I don't know enough about it. I know there's going to be state money and some federal money for that. We budgeted a lot of money for that in ours, but I think we'll be able to use federal and state money for that. Mike Tucker is working on that part of the details on that.
Unfortunately, Mike couldn't be at this meeting. He was hoping to be here, but he said at the last minute he couldn't make it. So,
There's no federal program so far that we qualify a particular location in the county for.
I think a lot of it's in that new infrastructure bill, which is still being.
So we're still waiting. Right now, we're in a waiting period to see where the state's going to. States come out and said they're going to fill the holes of the last state program. That was the governor's statement the other day that they admitted finally that the last time they did the state program where they said we were going to be 100% covered, a lot of them that we were going to be covered by satellites, which wasn't sufficient.
And he has done some work on identifying, we've paid out $30,000 to him so far to identify gaps in broadband coverage in the county, so he has done some
Yeah,
work on
I'm
that.
aware of that, and our town is particularly.
Are you okay?
We know the holes, we haven't gotten the.
Yeah, Bill
That's
said
what I
it's
told
a
you.
big hole, so, well, thank you very much.
any other questions for Jim?
Phenomenal work, Controller Greg, thank you.
Thank you for the effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, just gonna add, I really appreciate getting the detailed breakdown, so, thanks for coming here and doing that, and thanks to the ARPA committee for setting this up. And I think overall, the sum total of these programs, it can be really transformational for the county. I think there's a lot of exciting things in this that I think our residents are really gonna benefit from. So I'm looking forward to a lot of these projects moving forward.
I think we checked all or most of the boxes and going through this in terms of needs.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess the clerk, read the resolutions.
Resolution 256 of 2022 to 265 of 2022 by Supervisor Eldridge.
Mr. Chairman, I offer these resolutions for adoption.
Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution 266 of 2022 to 270 of 2022 by Supervisor Holman.
Mr. Chairman, I offer these resolutions for adoption.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution 271 of 2022 to 278 of 2022 by Supervisor Adams.
Mr. Chairman, I offer these resolutions for adoption.
Second motion?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution 279 of 2022 to 288 of 2022 by Supervisor Collins.
Mr. Chairman, I offer these resolutions for adoption.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, do any supervisors have any other business to bring to the board? Supervisor Holden?
So I just wanted to make a quick plug for this Saturday. The county has been working on a climate carnival. It was the idea of Jolene Race in our solid waste department. Her and I have been co-coordinators, and we've had a huge crew of people working really hard for about 8 months, including Don Meltz, who's done a tremendous job, a lot of volunteers, a lot of efforts. We have over 50 vendors. We're doing a countywide free store where you can get clothes and shoes and children's items free of charge, a bike recycling program for free bikes, or you can bring your bike that needs fixing and get it fixed for free, a repair cafe where you can bring pretty much anything that's broken, from lamps to electronics to a computer to furniture to things that need sewing, and there will be fixers on site with 25 fixers coming that are able to fix various things, and you can get your things repaired and keep them out of the landfill. And 3 different bands playing music. My children and I are playing music from 10:15 to 11, so I'd love for everyone to come early and see us play. And 2 food trucks, and it should just be a really fun time. So I hope everyone can come. It's at the Chatham Fairgrounds from 10 to 4 this Saturday. And we do still need some volunteers on Friday setting up the free store, and the benefit of that is you get to look at the donations first. And taste them. This dress came from the New Lebanon free store, I'm just saying, there's some nice finds in there.
Are you still accepting fodder for the free store?
We are, so 9 to 12 on Friday at the fairgrounds at the Red Schoolhouse. If you enter in the Stewart's entrance, we're still accepting donations from the public for the free store between 9 and 12 on Friday while we're setting up. And if you want to come and volunteer and help us sort and organize all the donations, you go to the climatecarnival.org, and there's a link on the left that says volunteer. So thank you all so much. And I know it's last minute, but there are some lawn signs in the hallway here and some posters. So maybe for that last 2 days, take a couple lawn signs home and throw them out in some of the public right-of-ways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Coach.
Mr. Chairman, could you explain this, the community solar, yeah, can you explain that a little bit? I thought it was a scam.
We as a board of supervisors actually voted to recommend two companies. One was a state contract company, the other one submitted a bid to participate in this program. It's part of this, the community solar is that they have to pass on some of the savings to the people that live in the community. And so this is one of the companies that's offering. The other one is Nexamp, and the other one.
Nexamp and
Neighborhood
Sun. And I will say, I signed up through New Lebanon before the county even did it, and I'm seeing about 10% savings on my NYSEG bill, and it's consolidated billing, so the bill still comes from NYSEG. I do nothing differently. They're just using the power that comes from solar somewhere, not even necessarily in my community, and I'm saving 10% on my so.
I do wish they would use maybe some nicer letterhead, because it does look better.
Who is this letter from that you have?
That was Nexamp.
That who you signed up with?
No, we're using a different company in New Lebanon that wasn't available for the county because they only go with NYSEG.
So it is legit.
Thank you. I said, is this real or am I in the twilight zone? Thanks.
Supervisor Stats.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any idea when we'll be adopting 2020 census numbers? I thought it was midsummer.
I'm going to turn this over to our attorney.
We're waiting. We have to coordinate with the city of Hudson with what they do with their wards and their setup, and then we have to come up with a system to do calculations. The gentleman that used to do it is now deceased. We have some options for that. Kelly Capero and I have been exploring it. We've attended a couple online seminars on it. And honestly, it usually takes about 2 years after, 2.5 years after the census. We've got a little pandemic glitch in there too, but it's on the docket to happen.
Because I know we did last time, I think we did summer of 22 or 12, so we'd be, I figured summer of 22, because forest supervisors, including myself, are excited to do this. The rest of you, not so much, because some of us are increasing, so. All right, so it's in the works.
It's in the works.
22% more than that.
I wouldn't mind waiting that way.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Supervisor?
I have one more question, sorry. So on the bus camera program, I just want to say, our traffic safety rep came to us and strongly supported it. I know they brought it to traffic safety as well. Our school district is very interested, and I hope that we can, bring it through a committee once we figure out the details. Obviously, it'll be the DA's office, because they'll play a role. But to me, it sounds like a win-win. It's mostly about safety. It's at no cost to the county. Yes, there's a little administrative, but that gets covered by the fees that come in, and it sounds like in Dutchess County's experience, even with the people that throw it in the garbage or fight it in court, they still are at least at a, no cost to the county, and it's increasing safety. We have quite a few issues in New Lebanon, where parents are very upset and cars are going right on Route 20 very quickly past the school bus while their kids are getting on. So I hope that we can, we'll talk to the DA, have those relevant conversations.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few more discussions on this and getting some more information. I mean, a half-hour presentation is
Yeah.
but I think it was a good permit.
Yeah.
And if it does go through a committee, I would recommend that it go through the public safety committee.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. I have one appointment to make. I'm going to appoint Charles Millar to the Columbia Green Community College Board of Trustees. And I know that I sent you the resume. I'm assuming you sent it to your caucus and you sent it to ours. So.
And got a response from someone that knows him and said, best choice ever, so good job.
Sometimes I get that. Okay. Other than that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Be ready next month on
She's like, you gotta go up and pay the mail.